Hey, guitar dudes and dudettes, out in the workshop today. After I shot that video the other day, kind of doing the little tour of this 1988 Charvel Model 2 that I got, I came to the conclusion I'm just not really happy with the pickup that was in it. I bought it modified with an EMG 81 and a tone knob, which obviously it came with a Jackson J90C really hot pickup. One of the hottest pickups they made in the 80s and put in these Charvel guitars. And that may be why somebody took it out. They wanted something that wasn't quite as obnoxious, but I wanted pointy 80s obnoxious. That was the whole point. So I just gutted the thing. I'll show you what I'm doing here, and then I'll show you what I'm going to put in it instead. And I've got this extra hole to fill. So I'll show you the idea I came up with that, because I really don't want a tone knob. I want to put it back with just a volume knob and a single pickup the way it was meant to be. When I get done, it'll be almost as original as I can possibly get it. So let's take a closer look. Work on. Alright gang, as you can see, I've already taken the pickup out. So this guitar came with modified with this old school EMG. I mean, I think you can tell it's been in there for a while. It's got the finish is kind of shiny and everything. I don't know if you can see that or not, but I was not real happy with the tone I was getting out of this guitar. I don't mind EMGs, but it just wasn't working in this guitar for me. So like I mentioned before, this guitar came with a Jackson J90C pickup when it was made. This is a made in Japan model, 1988, and that was one of the hottest Jackson pickups available. So what I decided to do, at first I thought, well, I was going to put a Seymour Duncan JB in there because it's kind of the same flavor, but I was able to source an original J90C Jackson pickup. So I ordered that, cost me $48. I found it on eBay. Obviously it's used, but it looked to be in really good condition. Guys, it works fine. So I'm going to put the original pickup back in there. I've got new potentiometer and new wiring harness and all that stuff coming. Obviously this is what was in there. Doesn't even look to me like an EMG setup. I believe, however they rigged it, they had that EMG in there with just some regular pots. I don't believe these are EMG pots, but I don't know, it worked okay, but maybe that's why I didn't like the sound of it. I don't know. So I'm going to try this Seymour Duncan Liberator volume pot. It's a 500K volume pot. It's solderless. It'll fit right in here easily. All my holes are drilled, so everything's going to be pretty easy to put it in. The only soldering that I'll have to do is the ground wire to the tremolo here. And then to fill this other hole that was unfortunately drilled in the guitar for a tone knob when the EMG was put in, what I decided to do was put a kill switch in there. So I ordered a black kill switch, basically just to cover the hole from Tessie switch. I'll more than likely not use it that often, but it's a better option than having a tone knob there. I've got one that's coming that's a low profile. It's going to match all the hardware, so I think that'll work out pretty great. This is the original bridge. This is the Jackson JT6 bridge. Everything on the bridge is original, all the original parts. It works great. It's a little bit different than your current Floyd Rose, and by the way, this is a licensed Floyd Rose for Jackson when they made this guitar. One of the interesting things that's different about this one than all the others is the screws that clamp the strings in are through the micro tuners. And one of the major issues with this particular bridge is people would over tighten these down, and they have a very, very shallow, can't get this head in there, they have a very, very shallow head. And what would happen over time is obviously these would get stripped out from people over tightening. These are actually in pretty good shape, but there's a place on the internet, I believe it's called Frets on the Net, but I'll put a link down below in the description, that sells all the parts for all these Jackson and Kahler bridges from back in the day. and I was able to get some replacement screws. So while I've got this out of the guitar, I'm going to pull it apart, put these new ones in. I'll save the old ones just in case. I'm going to lube it up and clean it up. Probably going to set the intonation back, you know, put the length back to normal and re-intonate the guitar. But the bridge is in really good shape. I did not get the original trim arm with it, but I was able to source a trim arm from the same guy. So got that taken care of. And then all the parts I'm going to use over. I'm going to use the rings should be okay. Of course, I put them all in little baggies because I'm real good about losing little stuff. Got my knobs, my springs, everything. This is the cover for the output jack. I've got a new output jack coming. I bought one that was already pre-wired, so it's going to be easy to put together, and it should be an easy fix. And the one reason I decided to go with that Liberator, which I'll show you that when it gets here, obviously there'll be a part 2 to this, or a second half of this video, is if I decide I don't like that pickup, you basically just undo a couple of screws, pull the wires out, pop the pickup out, pop a new one in, put the screws in, and you're done. So we're going to give that a shot, and maybe when we get done, the Charvel will be sharper than it is now. So anyway, I want to give a shout out to Phillip McKnight. Know your gear, because I never would have attempted any of this stuff without all the videos that he's put up and all the sharpen my axe videos that I've watched. And he's putting up a whole new series of do-it-yourself videos. So it's really, really helpful to a guy like me who is interested in doing this kind of stuff on my own guitar, doesn't want to pay somebody. Now, if I get into trouble, you know, I'll take it to somebody, but I think I'm going to be okay with that stuff. So the tape's on here just to keep the bridge posts at the height they were already set. They turn fairly easy. The bridge was set up right where I want it, so I just threw that tape on there to keep those from getting accidentally turned down any. And so parts on the way, should be here in a few days. We're going to put her back to as close to 1988 as we can get it. Back to the future, baby.